I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of 2 Kings, chapter 1, so let's focus on verse 3. But the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, "Arise and go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say to them, Is it because there is no God in Israel that you're going to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron?" Years ago, I was watching television when an announcer broke into regular programming to announce that Osama bin Laden had been killed. And I was glad to know that that man's days of terror were over. And in the hours that followed, worldwide news outlets broadcast celebrations spanning several continents. Now, why the celebration? Well, an evil man was no longer terrorizing the world. But after the celebrations quieted, a sobering reality set in. While the terrorist who was so infamous was dead, terror itself was very much alive. We were merely one less terrorist out of hundreds of thousands. And as it turned out, bin Laden's evil organization was multi-layered and it was sophisticated, so it was all very complicated. Just losing one guy was not enough. 2 Kings begins on a positive note. Ahab is dead. But Ahabs always die, and that is good news. But the bad news is that Ahab Jr. followed him. Ahaziah is a chip off of the old dead block. Welcome to gangland of 852 BC. Who knows exactly how it happened? Ahaziah fell from the second floor when a decorative screen gave way. Apparently, he was seriously injured since his search for an answer indicates that he was uncertain of recovery. Israel's king in Samaria believes his hope for years to come resides in a temple 45 miles away in Philistia, a pagan temple, and that's when God intervened. When the author of 2 Kings mentions the angel of the Lord sent Elijah, it was not just any angel. It was the Messiah himself. We know him later in history as Jesus. Hence, it was the Lord himself. God does not nap when apostasy is ruling the day. And so God personally intervened. Elijah is sent to question Ahaziah's messengers, yet his words are both a question and a judgment. Just like that, Ahaziah, the liberal king of Israel, is confronted with the intolerant God of Israel. There are some people who get upset at the idea of a God who is untamed in his holiness, and that he would sentence a man to death simply for exercising his sincere religious preferences in the critical hours of his life. But God is not the tolerant sort of God that people crave these days. The God who can coexist with false religions. Our postmodern culture would prefer the mythology of the ancient Near East, where gods and goddesses were permissive and they were casual and they never insisted on exclusive loyalty. They all kind of slept around with each other. None of those deities thought that worshiping others was a mortal sin. They didn't think it was a sin at all because they celebrated diversity and inclusion. But in the Bible, the God of Israel is the only true God. The Bible keeps reminding us of First Commandment stuff. Have no other gods before me. And that notion does not change in the New Testament. Jesus goes around insisting that folks smash idols if they would follow him as disciples. Mark chapter 10, verses 21 and 22. Then Jesus, looking at the man, loved him. And he said, "One thing you lack. Go your way, sell everything that you have and give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, take up your cross and follow me." But the man was sad at this word, and he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Why, Jesus is as obnoxious as his Father, Who does he think he is? You know, people are like tea bags. You never really know what's on the inside until you put them into hot water. And they are in hot water here. Thus, Ahaziah's idolatry is revealed. What about yours? When the water gets hot, do you run into the arms of the world, or do you stand firm on the Word of God? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. You know, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And if you're being ministered to through the daily teaching of Groundworks Ministries, and you'd like to help us lead God's people back to the Bible, would you consider donating to Groundworks Ministries today? We need your support now more than ever. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website. So check us out at groundworksministries.com.